What we have here are all my Atari 2600 accessories, controls, and systems. In the previous YouTube video, I talked about all my cartridges, and I have over 260, which I've been collecting over the years. I also am collecting the consoles. I read an interesting statistic that over 40 million Ataris were sold. If a 0.5% still existed, there'd be over 300,000. So there have to be a couple percentage of these remaining in people's attics, basements, collections. So what you're seeing here is by far small numbers when it comes to what's out there. And Atari is one of the easiest systems to find because there were so many of them sold. I'm going to walk through the various consoles. So for starters, this was my find today. I actually got this on Craigslist. This is a 6-switch console from 1980. It's fully boxed, has matching serial numbers, and in fact the inside, the controllers are still tied and there's still bubble wrap around everything. Now this was played at one point. I talked to the owner, and this was actually in his grandmother's attic, or actually in a closet. And his grandmother died. They were going through the house and they found it. So apparently they used it a long time ago, but it pretty much has been sitting. So to me, this is my personal holy grail. So what's in here is a system, and it has controllers, the manuals, everything that would have come with it. And it's in extremely, extremely good shape. I probably should have done a video on opening this up, but I didn't. But what's in here is the full system. I'm just going to go ahead and put that away. Okay, let's talk about consoles. Right here, this is the 6-switch Woody, as it's called, and obviously it has 6 switches. What's characteristic of the older Ataris is that the font is in lowercase. Okay, so you'll see that the font is in lowercase. Also, the games that originally came out were in lowercase as well, so it kind of corresponds with the cartridges. And because it's a 6-switch, you know, it obviously has 6 switches, but the difficulty switches are on the main console. These are going to be moved up to the top, which we'll talk about. What's interesting also is there's 2 circular holes below, and rumors I've heard on the internet were that the first initial Ataris maybe were powered internally, or that was a design, so they put speakers in there. But the Atari, as we all know it, was the sound in the video came through the television. So this one right here, this one was made in Taiwan, and it's in very good shape, but it's heavy, and it has the 2 bolts right here which are holding down some of the apparatus inside. This unit is identical in terms of model and such to the one that's in the box which I bought today. So that's the oldest of ones, and here you go, you have your controller and your power adapter. Usually what you have to end up doing is resoldering the power adapter on the inside, and sure enough, this unit I had to resolder when I got it because they become loose. So that's a number one pressure point that can cause these to stop working, because the power cord gets pulled and it causes the connections to get loose inside. Those came out between around 1977 and 1980-81. The originals were made in Sunnyvale, California, but that's not a Sunnyvale, California 6er. Okay, after Atari had sold a number of units, they kind of cheapened the design a little. It's still high quality, but they put, these are called the 4-switch models, and this is a Woody because it has the wood grain. What they do is they put the difficulty switches right here on the back, and the joystick ports are in a little bit different location. Let's see, what this one was made in Taiwan by TRW Electronics. Boy, Atari must have sourced these, because if they made 40 million of these over the years, they had to have had many suppliers. But anyways, you know, this is a 4-switch model. This is one that I had picked up over the years at a garage sale. Right here is the Atari 2600. People call this the Vader or the Darth Vader version, and that's because it's solid black. This is actually mine. This was from when I was a little kid. This was our second Atari because we had one of these that broke In fact, it was a power adapter problem, and I had no idea how to fix it, but the jack broke. So we ended up getting this, and I suppose this is from around 1982, 1983. But this is actually identical to the one that's above it, except the front panel is just solid black. And let's see where this one happens to have been made. This is made differently altogether. This was made in Hong Kong. So we've got Taiwan, Hong Kong, okay? I clean these up. By the way, if you ever want to clean up an Atari, don't get Q-tips necessarily and clean these. Take them apart, just put these in water and put, get a paper towel and push it in there, and they'll clean up really nicely. Finally, at the end of the run for Atari, they came up with the 2600 Junior. It's a slim design, and you'll see it right here. Very small, okay? So they got the electronics to be in a small area. Let's see where this one happens to have been made. Okay, that's made in Taiwan. So I'm going to guess this was from the mid-80s. This particular one was probably from the mid-80s. There's your output, there's your difficulty switches. One of these switches is a channel 3-4 switch, or channel 2 or 3, depending on what TV channel you wanted to put. You wanted to have the signal come on. Much like on here, there's a channel 2-3, and inside the 6 switch, there's actually a switch here on the side. You have to stick a screwdriver in to get to it. Okay. So technically, if you were to want to get one that has probably the best electronics and that's built the best, you probably want to go with a Junior from an electronics perspective. From being built the best and the sturdiest, you probably want to go with a 6 switch. These things are really heavy, very, very strong. This is very lightweight, but with electronics and technology, they were able to get a lot of the stuff that's in there into a smaller size. So kind of over here on consoles, ending up, this is the box again. I showed this earlier in the video, but I'm just really happy to have this. I think Atari is such a great piece of Americana, and I'm just so happy to have this in my collection, and I've always wanted one that's in a box. Okay, a couple things here. Let's go into joysticks and such. But anyways, if you have a Genesis or a Sega controllers, they will work on the Atari as well. So here's an off-brand called Quick Shot. This one actually has 2 controllers, but you can plug this in to your Atari and it works. Here's one of these called Gemini. Here is a Tron joystick that's for the actual game. We've got a whole bunch of paddle controllers right here. Okay, these each paddle controller plugs into, there's 2 of them that plug into each jack. So some of the games have paddle controllers. These are not paddles, these are driving. And I think the only game that was on the Atari that used these was Indy 500. I don't think anybody else, any other game used them, and they don't work for any other game. You'll notice if you keep turning, they just keep turning. They don't stop. Versus the paddles, which have a definite start and stop potentiometer inside, but these just keep on going. Over here we got some joysticks. With the purchase I bought today, I actually got a brand new joystick that's in the box here. It looks like someone bought this at Sears, but it's in perfect shape. Looks like it was on clearance at some point for $4. It says Sears Surplus Store, so they must have been there somewhere. So I got a bunch of these. Then we have the keyboard and video touchpad. These were used only in a couple games. Right here, the keyboard controllers were used in Hunt and Score, a game of Concentration, and I think there's 1 or 2 other games. Then you have Star Raiders. I was told that these are electronically identical, and I've never actually tried it, and I'm going to, but I have a feeling they probably are, because they probably didn't develop a whole new controller. They just decided to go with these, and these separate. These just happen to be locked together right now, so I got a couple of these. Over here are wireless joysticks. I've took these out once and looked at them. I've never tried them, but they're in perfect shape. Whoever bought this never actually used them. I think they're still sealed in here. But these probably would be, it says here 1983 on the package. So at some point in the 80s they came up with these, and they're really bulky and big. Look at the picture on the back here. My guess is they're not very accurate, just because they're not 800 megahertz like the way cordless things are now, or Bluetooth. So they're probably a little clumsy, but they'd get the job done. And like I always tell people, go to your thrift stores, because these were only $5. So that was a really good find. Then finally, there's a video game store in Norridge, Illinois that I go to. I went and bought some of these reproduction joysticks. These, I actually have a few of these. These are just two I bought that haven't been opened. But these are reproductions, and they have they have the same look and feel to a classic Atari joystick, but let me tell you, the way that these reacts is incredibly more responsive. So I read up a little bit about this, but somebody actually took the specs of these and had a bunch of them made. So we got some reproductions that are brand new. I think those are also on eBay. So anyways, that's my collection. I know it's a lot, but trust me, these are very easy to find. If you could have more than 1% of all the old classic cars around, you'd have some pretty big numbers. And again, there was 40 million of these made, so even if only a few percent of them still exist, you're still looking at large numbers. So hope you found that this was an interesting video. Leave your comments and we'll get back to you. Thanks.